Last year, Kelly Clarkson, which if you don't know who she is, I'm not going to sing for you, but she's a singer. She lost about 37 pounds and she did all of this without any exercise. It's a big Google search term right now, trying to figure out, how did Kelly Clarkson lose this weight? I'm going to be sharing exactly what she did and whether or not you should be doing it too. For those of you who don't know who I am or you're new to my channel, my name's Autumn and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition and human performance. If you hear any whining going on, it's because my new pup. So the thing with Kelly Clarkson is someone who's pretty much always under a microscope, but we pretty much all know who she is. Wasn't she like the first American Idol winner, and she's a singer. So when she suddenly lost all this weight last year, everyone started asking questions. They want to know exactly what she was doing. And the interesting part of all this is that, yeah, she talks about her weight loss, but she also talks about the fact that she's off thyroid medication now and she's feeling a lot better. So it's not just weight loss, it's also wellness, which is great. But what does she say is like the key to all of this? First of all, organic, non-GMO food. So really focusing on that. But she also read this book called The Plant Paradox by Dr. Gundry, and she utilizes those principles in order to lose weight and also to heal her thyroid issues. Now, the whole premise of the plant paradox is that not all plants are created equal and that some aren't really good for you because they contain these things called lectins. Lectins really have gotten a bad reputation because of, the paleo diet tends to avoid lectins. This plant paradox type of diet avoids lectins as well. And the reason why is because there's some research that shows that it may cause increased inflammation. There's actually, lectins are used in our body, they're used for cell signaling, and they're also used for some plants for protection mechanisms. This research still isn't entirely there and there's a lot of conflicting information, but Kelly Clarkson lost weight utilizing this information herself. Now, lectins are in foods like grains, beans, tomatoes, pasta, etc. It's actually in kind of a lot of food. In fact, there's even a type of lectin that's been found in mushrooms to inhibit cancer cell growth. So that's what I just want to point out. There is some really conflicting information out there about lectins. It's been demonized a little bit with this plant paradox, but it is in a lot of health promoting foods like beans. Okay, so then why did Kelly Clarkson lose weight? That's the biggest question. Like, is it the plant paradox diet or is it just, something else? The question is, are lectins the things that are causing you to gain weight? In order to answer this question, let's first look at some of the things that are in lectins that are being removed from this diet. So I mentioned pasta and grains. Pasta, as much as I love pasta, I really do love pasta, it is really dense in starchy carbohydrates that are stripped of their nutrients, really, because they do go through a processing where they are most oftentimes stripped of anything that could make it really beneficial for us. And instead, having something like pasta will flood your system with glucose, and glucose will then cause your body to increase your insulin response, which insulin is the storing hormone. And so by having higher levels of insulin, you're going to have more weight gain. So by removing something like pasta and swapping it for leafy green veggies, avocado, things that will actually reduce your insulin response, this alone will make it so that you are going to lose weight. It's not necessarily that the lectins are causing you to lose weight, it's just looking at the swaps that are going on here. And as a result of not having these higher insulin producing types of foods, this will make it so that your body isn't in that fat storing phase, but rather in the fat burning phase. And for Kelly Clarkson, I don't know what she was eating before, but some of the biggest culprits that cause this high insulin response, which leads to weight gain, are things like processed breads, pasta, crackers, those munchy type of items that are high in glucose, high in that starchy carb, and make it so that your body is going to be in that insulin fat storing mode. Some other foods that aren't allowed in the plant paradox type of diet are corn, which is another one that's a starchy carbohydrate that will cause your body to produce more insulin and keep you in that fat storing mode. But on that note of corn, Kelly Clarkson also really emphasized that she was having organic non-GMO foods. So when it comes to the plant paradox method and Dr. Gundry's method causing you to lose weight, it really probably isn't the lectins that you're removing that's causing you to lose weight, rather just swapping those unhealthier versions of food like pasta and crackers that contain lectins for something more nutrient dense that isn't going to cause you to be in that storing mode. All right, well, what about her thyroid medication? Why is it that she was able to go off of her thyroid medication as a result? Hormone balance is something that's a really complex issue. It's not that just one change will make everything go away. In fact, I have a whole hormone balancing series that you can check out if you're interested right here. But one thing that has been linked to any type of hormone imbalance, or specifically even thyroid, is having inflammation in the body. Now, Kelly Clarkson mentioned that she really focused on organic non-GMO foods. So pesticides and GMO'd foods, so genetically modified organisms, both of those have been found to increase your gut inflammation. This highly increases your chance of having systemic or entire body inflammation. So just by having organic, so not having pesticides in your body, not having GMO'd of foods, this makes it so that the gut inflammation is lower, so it's a healthier gut environment, which can lower the systemic or whole body inflammation. And that in itself could have a really big effect on the thyroid health alone. Plus, with the whole plant paradox method, she was increasing her healthy fats, which I don't like to call them healthy fats, and you can check out why with this video, but you know, healthy fats like avocados and other oils. And having higher amounts of fat will cause your body to have a more stable blood glucose level so that you don't have those spikes in insulin, so that your body isn't in storing mode. Plus, those fats are needed in order to decrease our systemic inflammation. So again, that makes sense. She's not having high amounts of sugar that will cause inflammation. She's including fats that will stabilize her blood glucose levels and decrease inflammation. And she's having organic non-GMO foods, which will also decrease her gut inflammation and can lead to whole body decreased inflammation. And that combination can also lead to making it so it improves her thyroid health. And again, I don't know what she was eating before, so it's really hard for me to assess this, but assuming that she was including some type of crackers or bread in her diet that are very nutrient poor, she's replacing that with foods that contain minerals that are needed in order to produce thyroid hormone in the first place. So by decreasing inflammation and providing things that actually are needed by her body in order to produce those thyroid hormones, then that can make it so that she's able to naturally heal her thyroid. So going back to this whole issue of lectins and whether or not you should be avoiding them, I always like to go back to the people who are the longest lived in the world. So people in Sardinia and Italy, they actually eat quite a few amount of beans. So in general, beans have been a pretty big part of the Italian diet, the Mediterranean diet in general. And as we know, the Mediterraneans are living very long, healthy lives with very low rates of any diseases, let alone inflammatory diseases. And they're having a lot of things like beans. I know we always associate Italians with pasta, but that actually isn't really necessarily the case. They actually do have a lot of beans and legumes. So like I mentioned, I studied abroad in Italy, studying the Mediterranean diet and learning the methods of how they actually cook the meals, as well as the science that goes along with it. And something that's really lost in, especially America, is that we don't cook our food ourselves anymore. So if we were to cook our food ourselves, especially something like beans, which does contain these lectins, then what you do is actually soak dry beans. So let me actually show you. I actually have a ton of beans that I utilize on a daily basis. There are some beans right here. You can see they're dry. They're definitely not edible yet. What you would do in order to actually reduce the lectin content, where it's essentially non-existent for beans, is you soak them in water for 24 hours or overnight, at least 12 hours really. And this helps to basically activate the beans. Then you cook them for anywhere between 1 and 2 hours. And this whole process has been found to dramatically decrease the lectin content that's in beans. It's also why you won't get bloated when you have beans that are made from scratch. So we're really used to, in America, just grabbing something quick, grabbing the canned beans, and those will contain higher amounts of lectins because those companies don't necessarily go through the whole process of removing the lectins the proper way by soaking them and then cooking them, because that takes a lot of time, and that means time is money, right? And really that sounds like a lot of time and prep in order to make beans, but there's so many studies that show that beans are actually linked to decreased body mass index, decreased weight, and just improved quality of life in general. It's not something you should be totally getting rid of. Plus, there's these oligosaccharides that are released from the beans as well, this outer layer of the beans, when you do cook them the proper way. And that makes it so that it reduces bloating and then therefore reduces gut inflammation. So just by having beans the proper way and utilizing it the way that the Italians have been doing it for hundreds of years, then you'll be able to eat beans, get the benefits from them, and feel good. In fact, I have a whole post on exactly how to make beans from scratch. It's really simple, it's not hard, but I have the post down in the description below so you can check it out. But totally ditching things like beans and tomatoes and cucumbers, things that contain lectins, isn't a good idea. You're really limiting your diet at this point and you're not getting a good variety. These are foods that we've been having for a very long time and the longest lived people in the world still have on a regular basis. It's just really what it comes down to is making sure that you're feeding yourself those foods and making them yourselves rather than relying on a food company to do it for you. Because if you are really concerned about decreasing inflammation, then just in general, always cooking those things for yourself or anything for yourself is going to be extremely beneficial. Case in point, having the beans made from scratch rather than buying it in a can. So if you are looking to lose weight, instead of ditching those healthy foods, ditch the unhealthy processed grains and processed carbohydrates and high sugary foods that are actually causing your body to have high insulin levels and keep you in fat storing mode. Plus, by ditching those foods, you'll decrease your inflammation as well. So it really is a win-win. And in fact, if you are looking to lose weight, I highly recommend that you check out this video. It goes over the top 10 ways that you can lose weight without counting calories. Otherwise, if you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out with new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video.